This nation is forged on the principle of freedom and liberty, which are the highest commodities other than godly righteousness, and they are worth defending to the maximum degree. While we recognize those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, Memorial Day was created especially for them. Veterans Day is a day in which we recognize those who serve to ensure that our nation remains free. It is vital to recognize that if we are not the home of the brave, we will cease to be a land of the free. With that thought in mind, I have the honor to introduce our guest speaker. I think there are few individuals who epitomize the concept of the citizen soldier. He is a dedicated soldier, a considerate educator, and a renowned attorney. He's also a VMI graduate, so that in fact makes him a great American. I also highlight this background, and particularly eyes on me from the cadets, to remind you that you will be evaluated, and we are more interested in where you're progressing in life rather than where you are or how you got here. At 17, our speaker dropped out of school, joined the Virginia Army National Guard. Instead of becoming a statistic like so many others, within 10 years he was prosecuting cases in the city of Richmond. In 2003, he became an Assistant Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, where he earned a national reputation as a litigator. He prosecuted our nation's first felony spam case, the Attorney General's first identity theft case, and brought many of Virginia's worst internet predators to justice and criminal street gangs that killed a police officer to justice. Super Lawyers magazine recognized him in their 2007 Rising Stars edition, and the 2009 Style Weekly recognized him as one of the top 40 individuals under the age of 40 in the city of Richmond. Our speaker also began his career as an educator, so he is familiar with his surroundings. He started teaching as a substitute teacher in Henrico County, Virginia. He returned to the classroom where he served as an associate professor at the University of Virginia Union. He has helped develop the Attorney General's Safety Net program, in which is used to model and educate parents of minors on internet safety. He has published numerous articles on legal subjects ranging from internet safety to capital murder. During the trial of the Washington, D.C. sniper in the 2002-2003 timeframe, he served as an expert and was interviewed for congressional findings by the Federal Trade Commission. Throughout this time frame, or these accomplishments, he also served in uniform beginning in 1988. He assumed command of an infantry company on the 1st of September 2001, and 10 days later, with the terrorist attacks of 11 September, went to work. He left his family to command his unit overseas for a year in Operation Enduring Freedom, and served a subsequent year in Operation Iraqi Freedom. While in Iraq, he served as the coalition liaison to the Independent Election Commission of Iraq, where he helped Iraq plan, execute free, fair, and secure elections, which is the pinnacle of democracy. He is active in efforts to recognize the service of service veterans, and he is a guest op-ed columnist for numerous newspapers to honor veterans and their efforts, and also established the Iraqi Veterans License Plate for the Commonwealth of Virginia. So without further ado, it is my distinct privilege and high honor to introduce to you Lieutenant Colonel Rusty McGuire, Commonwealth Attorney of Louisa County and Commander of the 116th Infantry Division.
Wow, that was a mouthful. None of that means much at all. I'm just a human being like everybody in here, and I can tell you I'm really honored to be here in front of you. There's two things I care a lot about, and that is education and military service, or just service to our Commonwealth, our nation. So Captain Black, Headmaster Green, the rest of the faculty, friends and family of Fishburne, thank you for having me today. Again, I'm truly honored. Never been here before, but I feel like I'm at home just walking around those barracks. It reminds me of the running around days. And for those asking the question, I'm still not sure how I got an appointment to VMI. with my background, but I did, and it certainly showed me this, that doors were out there that I could go through that I did not think would be open for me. And I hope that everybody in here comes to the same realization for your opportunity at Fishburne. You're only limited to what your mind believes you're limited to. But what I want to talk to you about today is Veterans Day, and as Captain Black mentioned, I am a guest columnist, and these remarks that I'm about to share will be published in the Roanoke Times over the weekend, so I spent some time kind of working on it, and you kind of are the test run for it before the rest of the Roanoke area gets to see it on Veterans Day. So at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, guns fell silent across Europe. It was supposed to be the end of the war to end all wars. The killing fields across Europe left almost 10 million soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines dead that would not return home alive to their families. That was not the war to end all wars, because 20 years later, Europe found itself again about to go into World War II. Wars continued, and as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, there have been numerous other wars. In fact, the president still today calls soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines to harm's way. So it has not ended, and it continues. Why do I mention that? Because that's why Veterans Day is so important. Because today, on Veterans Day, is the date that we celebrate every person who raises their hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Because everyone that takes that solemn oath knows that the President may call them to harm's way. That is why it's important. But particularly what I want to talk about is what unites the United States as a people. And one of those things that has united us as a people since the Revolution is Old Glory. The 50 stars, the 13 stripes, the red, white, and the blue. Think about this. For those that have been in school, which we all have, most schools start off your day with the Pledge of Allegiance. Most events, like this solemn event today, we have the national anthem played in reverence to our flag. Regardless of where you came from, regardless of your race, your gender, your socioeconomic class, we are all united by the flag of the United States of America. And that's why it's something to take serious. And I mention that because there is a different time that we are in today. We are seeing the community in some areas protest during the American flag. And I mention that because as to a veteran, that cuts deep. But I want you to understand the perspective of veterans when I say that. And I'm going to talk about a hero like Colonel Van Barfoot. He was a friend of mine. Colonel Barfoot in 1944 was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions in combat. He single-handedly took out 3 enemy machine guns. He disabled an enemy tank and captured numerous prisoners by himself. He went on to serve in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, before he retired from the United States Army. And just for the enlisted soldiers out there, when he earned the Medal of Honor, he was enlisted, but he did receive a battlefield promotion to lieutenant and carried on the rest of his career as an officer. Well, many of you may remember in 2009, Colonel Barfoot made national news because he now found himself in a new battle against his homeowners association in Henrico County, Virginia. He put up an American flag on Veterans Day 2009, but his HOA, Homeowners Association, decided that was a violation of the covenants of his community. They contacted a lawyer and ordered him to take that flag down. Well, needless to say, Colonel Barfoot, at 90 years old at that time, had everybody from the White House down supporting Colonel Barfoot. But I mention that because you have to understand why Colonel Barfoot put that flag up. He did not put it up to protest the covenants or restrictions of his community. He put it up there to honor those that he served with in his long and distinguished career. And I have to explain, I hate to get too much in personal stuff of me, but it means a lot to me. I was on my way from Balad to Baghdad in March of 2005. And I was trying to get a flight back. I was away from my unit because of the type of mission that I had. And I was trying to catch a Black Hawk ride. And the air mobility group said, look, we can get you on a flight back to Baghdad, but just realize it's a hero flight. I didn't know what a hero flight was until I boarded that Black Hawk. You see, what the call sign was for KIAs in combat were heroes. And because when a soldier, sailor, or airman, or Marine dies on the battlefield, often the last vision that we see of our comrades are their flag-draped body. And that is what I saw in that helicopter on my ride back to Baghdad. Couldn't say much on the ride to the few of us on the flight. But that's not the end. There's a solemn ceremony when a veteran departs this earth. It's when a flag is folded 13 times and is presented to the next of kin in remembrance of the sacrifice of their loved ones. The words that are said, regardless of the service, although they are different, on behalf of a grateful nation, are the last time we see the body on earth of our fallen comrades. That is why the flag means so much to me and most of my fellow veterans. And that's the message that I think we need to get out. And I want to share this one person who is similar to a lot of you in this room. His name was Major Thomas Howie, the Major of St. Lo. Most of us in this room are too young to remember 1944 from looking at the papers, but Major Howie made international headlines in 1944. You see, he arrived in the wave on Omaha Beach with the 29th Infantry Division, more specifically my unit, the 116th Regiment. Many of you have seen the movie Saving Private Ryan. That is the 29th Division that took such severe casualties at Omaha Beach. Thomas Howie commanded the 3rd of the 116th, one of our battalions, and he did survive the landings. Over the next 42 days, the 29th and the rest of the military could not break out of St. Lo. Major Howie fought and fought with his battalion and says, we are going to be the first in St. Lo. We are going to take St. Lo. Not long after that, he was killed by a German 88. But his men had so much respect for him. His commanding General Gerhardt had so much respect for him that they wanted to ensure that his last mission on earth was accomplished. What they did was a site that Andy Rooney, some might remember from 60 Minutes, was a war correspondent for Stars and Stripes. He referred to it the most reverend event he saw in the war. They took his body, they draped it over a Jeep covered in the American flag. They ensured that Thomas Howie accomplished that final mission by being the first in St. Lo, his body on the lead Jeep that went into St. Lo. They then took his body with the flag and placed it in the rubble of a cathedral in St. Lo, and that is when Andrew Rooney saw it, and a picture was snapped that plastered papers across this world. So if you read the Roanoke Times on Sunday or Monday, whenever they publish, hopefully they're going to share that picture. That's one of the most reverent pictures of the war that sort of seared in the minds of a generation, seared in the mind of men and heroes like Colonel Barfoot who want to fly their flag to honor those. So I hope you will all join me on Veterans Day on Monday and for the rest of your life, knowing it's a day not just to honor the fallen, because that's more of Memorial Day, but everybody who has the courage and the wisdom to take that oath to support and defend the Constitution, because as the captain said, this nation will not remain free if not for the brave like you in here today. I salute you all and thank you for having me.